Guys, today we discuss about the Anthoceros, the sporophyte development. Now, what happened? So, suppose this is the zygotic cell. Very good. So, zygotic cell is a diploid structure. First of all, get divided in this plane into two, then get divided in this plane, so into four, and ultimately another division, that is longitudinal to the at right angle to the previous one. So one is vertical, another is longitudinal, another is transverse. So making the zygote into 8-celled condition, that is called octet condition. Now 4 cells are getting to be seen over here and 4 cells on the back side. Now a periclinal division takes place. See, this zygote is present within the venter, and that venter is embedded within the gametophytic plant body. Keep it in mind. So now periclinal division starts to take place. Periclinal division will take place, I told you earlier in the class, periclinal division takes place in such a plane that a round shaped structure getting the outer layer separated from the inner core. So ultimately the octet structure also getting separated into two different zones, the outer amphitheциum and inner endothecium. Outer amphitheциum is also bearing 4 cells front side and 4 cells back side, so 8 celled, and the inner endothecium also is a 8-cell condition. Now this endothecium will gradually give rise new cells in such a fashion that a central such kind of structure is formed. Such kind of central structure is formed. This is called columella. This is a sterile structure, is called as columella. The amphitheциum itself, let us first of all, this amphitheциum enlarge, and then these are the cells, ampli 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the back side another 4. This amphitheциum once again undergo periclinal division. Okay, sir. So once again they undergo periclinal division. This periclinal division ultimately differentiate the amphitheциum into outer amphitheциum and inner amphitheциum. Okay, outer amphitheциum grows. The cells divide and redivide and ultimately give rise a structure like this. The cells of the amphitheциum, they divide and redivide to give rise a structure like this. Having epidermis, and these epidermal cells are also dividing periclinally in such a manner that a number of layers of epidermis have been found. The number of layers of epidermis is found in case of inner mass of amphitheциum, means this portion of the amphitheциum. This portion of the amphitheциum ultimately act as archisporium. So the octet condition of the zygotic cell is a common with the Mertensia. Thereafter, in case of Mertensia, the endothecium had been changed into, or have been found to be acting as the sporogenous tissue or archisporial material, and the total jacket of the capsule was developed from the amphitheциum. But over here, the central columella is developed from the endothecium. So columella is the structure which was not common with the sporophyte in Merkensia. So columella is a sterile structure, do not have any relation with the spore production or any reproduction. So it is centrally located structure, and such centrally located structure is only associated with the mechanical support. So in case of Anthoceros, the total sporophyte is elongated structure. As it is an elongated structure and ultimately appeared to be a horn-like, so whatever the structures was morphologically found to occur with the Anthoceros thallus, that horn-like structures, these horn-like structures are nothing, these are the sporophytes. Actually, sir, these sporophytes have arisen as because certain archegonium was there embedded within the gametophytic thallus, and that archegonium was bearing an egg nucleus which was, sir, fertilized by the antherozoid, and zygote was formed inside the thallus, and that zygote ultimately have undergone such kind of developmental processes, and that's why such kind of erect sporophytic body developed, and such erect sporophytic body which is appearing in longitudinal section, such kind of elaborate structure. This is, sir, the morphological view of such sporophytic structure. So inside this sporophytic structure, it is bearing such kind of thing, that is central columella is also present over here. Sir, apart from central columella, sir, this is a sterile tissue. So endothecium do not take part into giving rise any spore mother cell or spore or anything else. Sir, so the amphithecium once again, sir, divide periclinally. This amphithecium give rise the outer and inner amphithecium, such kind of division give rise outer amphithecium and inner amphithecium. Sir, outer amphithecium ultimately give rise the wall of the, what I should say, it is a sporangium or it is a capsule. It is a capsule. So wall of the capsule. So capsule is nothing but that is a kind of sporangium, as because it is bearing the spores. Sir, this capsule in case of Anthoceros have got 6 to 8 layered jacket. Suppose the outer amphithecium having single layer of cell, so we would have given single layered jacket of the capsule. But later on it has been found that single layer amphithecium further divide periclinally to give rise 6 to 8 layered capsule jacket. So the inner amphithecium is left only. That inner amphithecium ultimately will get modified into, sir, archisporial cell. So the product of the inner amphithecium contribute to act as archisporium. Now archisporium or archisporial cells also get metamorphosed into two different ways. Sir, some of the archisporial cells, they give rise, what I should say, the spore tetrads, as well they give rise the spore mother cells, and those spore mother cells ultimately give rise spore tetrads. Sir, spore mothers, so archisporial cells, some of the archisporial cells give rise what? Na sporogenous tissue. From sporogenous tissue, spore mother cell, and those spore mother cell ultimately give rise spore tetrads. Archisporial cells give rise sporogenous tissue. That sporogenous tissue ultimately act as spore mother cell, give rise spore mother cell, and those spore mother cells ultimately undergo spore mother cells undergo meiosis, as because the diploid status of established with the appearance of the zygote. So that had to be, there had to be haploidization. So meiosis take place of the sporogenous tissue, so that spores are formed, that is spore tetrads, 4 haploid spores are associated with one another, so spore tetrad is formed. That is a part of the archisporial cell. And another part of the archisporial cell act as pseudo-elater mother cell. So part of the archisporial cell act as spore mother cell. Some of the archisporial cell act as pseudo-elater mother cell that ultimately give rise pseudo-elaters. Sir, elaters, the term elater have been found in case of Merkensia. Those elaters had been found to be associated with the dispersion or the better dispersion of the spores from the capsule. Over here, the elater-like structure, but these are not true elater, these are called pseudo-elaters. They are also found associated with the spore tetrads. So, such kind of pseudo-elaters are also meant for better dispersion of the spores. So, such kind of elaborate elongated structure is known as capsule. At the base of the capsule, see, this is the capsule portion. At the base of the capsule there is fruit. So actually amongst the while it was the zygote was in 8-cell condition, the basal 4-cell structure, the 4 cells had been given the fruit inside. So if you consider the thallus, the gametophyte of the Anthoceros, see, this might be the thallus. So some of the archegonium was there, zygote was formed, and from that zygote this sporophyte have arisen, and lower basal cells of the octet have given rise fruit. So fruit cells are actually helping to anchor the sporophyte along with the gametophyte. Over here the sporophyte also depends for the food and nutrition on the gametophyte. So the sporophyte is a dependent structure in case of bryophyte. In Merkensia also it was dependent on the gametophyte. Sir, this is an elaborate structure, but actually the true view is of this one. Sir, foot is there, capsule is there, but in between foot and capsule, the seta, which is common in case of the sporophyte of Merkensia, is absent over here. So the occurrence of seta is absent. Instead of seta, so they have got meristematic tissue at their base. This is very much unique feature in case of Anthoceros, that certain meristematic tissues are available at the base of the sporophyte. Those meristematic tissue can divide, the cells can divide, and while they divide, they add new cells and ultimately help to elongate the sporophyte. So this way, while the sporophytes, rather meristematic tissue, while they are active, they contribute to let the capsule be elongated, and while the capsule is long and elongated, so better dispersion of the spores can take place. So over here the meristematic tissue help to elongate the capsule so that the better dispersion of the spores take place. Along with that, the presence of pseudoelaters and their movement also in addition help the better movement, a better dispersion of the spores. So this way, these are the two structures are associated with better dispersion of the spores. So this is the elaborate structure of the sporophyte. So the sporophyte in case of Anthoceros shows a central columella. The central columella is surrounded by the mass of sporogenous tissue with spore, which ultimately give rise spore tetrads and which are found to be associated with pseudoelaters. And those sporogenous blocks with pseudoelaters have been found to be bound and surrounded by the capsule jacket. Over here the capsule jacket is 6 to 8 layered. Sir, one of the major feature of Anthoceros, which is actually indicating the advancement of Anthoceros, is that the presence of certain cells in columella which are resembling the character of tracheary element, trachea component of xylem. That gives an idea. Although this plant group, that is bryophyte, is not bearing any conducting tissue, but the development of the capsule, the development of the columella with the capsule in sporophyte gives an idea that certain tendency of development of tracheary material, so that in the next few generation after, the evolvement of the tertiary element can take place. One of the possibilities there. So this is an advanced feature, considered to be advanced feature in case of Anthoceros. Another feature, sir, this one layer of the capsule is green, photosynthetic, so contribute a lot. While although sporophytes are dependent on the gametophyte for their food and nutrition, but over here they can produce their own food. They are photosynthetic, bearing chlorophyll, so contribute a bit by synthesizing their own food. Although they are synthesizing their own food, but they are dependent on the gametophyte for their food and nutrition as well. So another feature is the presence of stomata. So this is very unique feature, that stomata are found to be associated with the epidermal portion. Sir, while practical will go on, we will see the presence of stomata in the longitudinal section of the Anthoceros sporophyte. So these are the very advanced feature. Another advanced feature is the absence of seta. Instead of seta, the presence of meristematic tissue. That meristematic tissue ultimately contributing in elongation of the capsule, so that better dispersion of the spore take place. Sir, such presence of pseudolated is also another advanced feature of the Anthoceros. So now, this way we say that Anthoceros is an advanced group of organisms. Anthoceros is an advanced group, genus. So Anthoceros also show certain structure which are resembling algae. There is presence of chloroplast, and within the chloroplast pyrenoid is present that resembles algae. So presence of columella and certain cells like tracheary element resemble the plant group, that is pteridophytes, which are showing the conducting tissue. Sir, the Anthoceros is also showing the photosynthetic tissue in their sporophyte, ultimately showing the approach so that the sporophyte become independent of its own and do not remain dependent on the gametophytic plant body for food and nutrition. Presence of stomata in the wall of the capsule, and appearance of central columella as what tissue? That is a tissue which is sterile. Such kind of occurrence of character ultimately says and supports that Anthoceros is an advanced group, and Anthoceros is also resembling on one side algae, other side bryophytes, pteridophytes, and all these groups. So Anthoceros is considered to be a synthetic group of plant. So such kind of Anthoceros shows clear-cut alternation of generation. Sir, the gametophytic plant body, dorsiventral prostrate thallus, sir, shows antheridium and archegonium, their haploid structure, bearing antheridium, bearing antherozoids and ovum, that is egg, haploid. Sir, zygote is formed while fusion takes place between two gametes. Diploid generation starts. The zygote ultimately gives rise young sporophyte, then mature sporophyte. So that is the diploid generation. Within the mature sporophyte, the meiosis of the sporogenous tissue takes place. So spores are formed. So once again, haploid generation is re-established, and from the spores, once again, new sporophytes have been developed. New gametophytes have been developed. So once again, a mature gametophyte have been regained. So this way, gametophytic and sporophytic generations are very much clearly found to be seen in case of Anthoceros as well. So, as the other bryophytes like Mertensia and other bryophytes, Anthoceros also shows a clear-cut alternation of generation